Up next, we have an incredible presentation by a couple of our amazing people at corporate. We announced some incredible products here at convention. Have you guys been pretty excited about the products that we've launched? Yeah, there we go. One of the ones that we're most excited about with some patent pending technology has been our deep Spectra products that were announced last year and even more that have been announced this year. To talk more about that, we have Brad Chatterley, Director of Product Marketing. He prefers to be called just Brad, but he's pretty important around here, does a lot of great stuff. And of course, Dr. H.K. Lin, Chief Scientist of Research and Discovery. It is going to be an amazing presentation with lots of great information about what is Deep Spectra, the past, and the future. Put your hands together for Brad and H.K.
Thank you for coming here in the afternoon. So we're going to start?
I think so. Should we?
So,
There we go. It's up.
Deep Spectra is based on the concept to collect all phytochemical compounds from plants. At Young Living, Gary already had an idea of combining essential oil and plant material together and present to you in the past. Now, we provide even better form of this kind of combination because we are an essential oil company. At the end, we present to you the next level of essential oil.
So we're going to talk about 6 subjects today. From thinking about what is that full spectrum of chemical compounds we want from the plants, to why Deep Spectra can provide better benefits. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about frankincense squared as an example and as an introduction to our new products. And we're also going to talk about how we're going to include Deep Spectra-based ingredients in Young Living's future product development in personal care products and nutritional supplements. Finally, one thing that we want you to understand is that Deep Spectra technology is a brand new processing methodology to extract valuable compounds from plants. As we pioneer this concept and technology, we're dealing with a lot of unknowns because no one has done this before. So we're going to talk about how we will conquer these challenges.
So I think we pack a lot of things together and try to make it simple. Maybe we overdoing it, so let us know. We can provide more information. The idea of extracting plant compound is not new at all. In human history, people already doing it for hundreds, if not thousands of years. People use water, like a traditional Chinese medicine. Later on, use organic solvent, like ethanol, methanol, hexane. You know that some of the chemical compounds not even good. However, Young Living is the first one who introduced this novel technology to the world for the first time. Gary taught us about a lot. Many of you heard what Gary taught about chemical constituents present in essential oil. We just go through some of this information he taught us. With Gary's introduction, scientists and researchers now starting recognize the importance of essential oils. In general, essential oils are mainly composed of 20 to 6 major compounds. Some of them more, some of them less. Okay. Probably you already know that. In general, Major compounds with larger quantities are considered to play an important biological roles, while minor compounds considered to play a supporting role for that kind of a biological function. However, when we talk about compound getting into our body, our skin, the compound is not going to stay there by themselves. They interact with each other, they talk to each other, they hold hands together. So there are still a lot of unknowns. So we all know that monitoring and monitoring noise, we talk about that in the future, account for the majority part of the essential oil, major part of essential oil. Sesquiterpenoids account for up to 60%, meaning some of them probably a very small amount, some of them are up to 60% of that essential oil. There are some very minor compounds also present in essential oil. That the presence are sometimes very tiny. A lot of people just ignore it. The distribution of this chemical compound is attributed to the nature of distillation process. Gary taught us a lot. Young Living knows better than anyone else. We're not going to touch that topic. After distillation process, many phytochemical compounds are still present in plant material. They didn't come out during the process of distillation. We'll go through those kind of examples. I'm not going to go through them individually, but those are examples of chemical compound or molecule still present in the plant material. They don't come out of distillation. So move forward.
Okay, I let HK handle all of the science stuff because he's the chief scientist, so he's really good at it. So why is Deep Spectra a technology, the Deep Spectra technology a milestone in the wellness industry? Why are we chasing this? Part of it is what HK was just talking about. How do we get more out of the plant?
But and those not coming out of distillation, okay? Those things still inside of plant.
Yes. And so there's three main reasons that we're working so hard on this. And we're going to go into each one of these in more detail on the following slides. But it's really an extraordinary technology that creates extraordinary ingredients. It's exclusive to Young Living, and it's earth kind. So what makes it extraordinary? Synergy is one of the most important theories in plant-based supplementation. In modern medicine, by contrast, the concept that's driven most drug discovery is the single molecule, single impact approach. But as this quote says, the body is not a one-note melody. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The unique fusions created with our Deep Spectra technology have even more compounds from plants in them than essential oils alone do, for potentially more synergistic effect. One of the world's leading phytochemical researchers said that life is chemically complex, and science is only beginning to grasp the subtle and varied mechanisms involved in processes such as inflammation and immunity. So there's a lot that we don't know when it comes to those complex interactions. Self-repair is also a vital natural phenomena, and complex natural chemical mixtures, such as essential oils, and now especially Deep Spectra, may partly work by supporting the body's innate ability to take care of the challenges it faces. I know Gary used to say a lot, you give the body what it needs, and the body knows how to take care of itself.
I believe everybody remember that.
So it's also exclusive. You can't find this anywhere else. HK has been studying essential oils, plant extracts, and their functions in the body for decades. Young Living is the world's best distiller of essential oils. Our process engineers, research scientists, analytical PhDs, product managers, agronomists, distillery managers, and so many others have brought their expertise to bear to the table as we scale up our production of Deep Spectra. Because last year, for those of you that were here, you may recall, everything that we provided you was produced in HK's lab. So,
By hand.
yes. So we'll talk more about this in the challenges section, but taking it from HK doing it in the lab to producing it on a large scale is a lot of work. It involves a lot of people, a lot of expertise. And really, I think only Young Living could pull this together based on our extensive experience. And because HK is the inventor of this technology, it is a patent-pending technology, which means that it's a protected technology.
It's not my technology, it's Young Living's technology, because I'm an employee of Young Living. So, at another point here, hopefully I will not be criticized by our compliance officer here. Where? As you know, back in 2010 and 2014, Gary...
Wait, you're skipping. Don't skip our Earthkind.
No, I'm
step.
not going to do... What?
Don't skip our Earthkind stuff.
I know, I'm doing that, but
Okay.
we could talk about a lot of
Okay,
nonsense back
okay.
then.
That's fine.
But we only talk about science right now, right?
Okay.
I garbage a lot back then. So some of you probably heard what I garbage about. So with this new generation, if you heard what I garbage or the nonsense I talk about, you know what we are talking about. Backward.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So that's kind of some episode of aside from the script.
Yes.
Upcycled ingredients are ingredients that would otherwise being wasted and put into the for
The landfill.
landfill.
It would
yes,
be
I
wasted
got it.
ingredient.
Would be wasted ingredient.
Yeah.
But right now, we can upcycle it to collect important and beneficial compound for those wasted material. Many of you have been to our distilleries or will see one at this convention. Probably you see the expo, they can show you how we do the distillation. You know that after distillation, there is a lot of plant material left over, right? We often make use of this material, wood chip are spread as a weed suppression herb or compost, and put it back to the soil. But what if we can use this kind of material and get other beneficial compound out and put into our product and enhance the functionality of our product? That's what we do. We are doing using this Spectra. For example, frankincense square. The reason we use that process that has been processed and for frankincense essential oil. The oil extracted through hydrodistillation or steam distillation. But we are getting additional benefit from it using this Spectra. And I continue to work with the post-distillation plant material in this deep Spectra research. This helps us to get the most, if not all, beneficial compound from plants.
That makes sense to everybody? Perfect. Okay, so the two Deep Spectra products that we introduced at this International Grand Convention both contain frankincense. One is frankincense squared and the other one contains frankincense. Young Living knows frankincense really, really well, and that's part of what drove its prevalence in our product launches this year. And Gary spent a great deal of time and effort to introduce sacred frankincense in 2010. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of the work that went into that for those of you who may not have been around at that time. Gary traveled initially to many different countries where it was reported that frankincense trees were growing. He wanted to see and document as many different species as possible, as well as to be able to test and analyze their different compounds. He evaluated many different species of frankincense. He also surveyed research on the essential oils, as well as doing his own research on the essential oils. And Gary made at least 16 trips to Oman in 20 years in his desire to learn as much as he could. And during that time, he met others who had a deep interest in frankincense and a desire to help people.
Thank you.
After exploring so many of the Arabian countries, Gary decided to build a distillery in Oman, the center of frankincense history and home of the Boswellia sacra species of frankincense. And after years of that hard work, Young Living finally introduced sacred frankincense at the 2010 convention. So given this long history that we have with frankincense and researchers that have worked with this oil, it only made sense for us to start there with frankincense. And we'll talk more in the future about where we're going to go from here, though. Where can we go from with different plant materials and different essential oils?
So I want to echo what Brad just said, because we have a lot of experience on frankincense. That's the reason why we start with the frankincense. Not because we didn't start with something else, but we want to know more about frankincense. We have been thinking about how to combine the components from essential oil and plant material compounds together. With the frankincense square, we came up this ideology, came up with this technology. At the end, we present to you, as I said earlier, as essential oil. But this essential oil is different from anyone else can give you. It has more other beneficial compound, very important one. Like all other essential oil, with a very small number of exceptions. Monoterpenes or monoterpenoids are dominant molecules present in frankincense essential oil. Then it also has sesquiterpene and sesquiterpenoids. Very small amount of diterpene also present, small amount. Detectable, but not much. Triterpene, including boswellic acid and other beneficial compounds which are large in molecular weight, almost non-detectable. If they are detectable, are very tiny amount. Almost all research data for decades, since the traditional Chinese medicine used boswellic acid. All research for maybe, like I said, decades, been focusing on boswellic acid. Boswellic acid considered the most critical compound need to be present to take the benefit of frankincense resin, right? However, I always so weirdo. I never try to follow anyone else. I came up with different, because what I saw using frankincense essential oil is reasonably to believe that frankincense resin is not limited to boswellic acid alone to provide a biological function. Something else in frankincense essential oil are also play a major, very important role in its biological activity. So now come to this point. Using deep Spectra technology, we can introduce heavier molecular weight compound like triterpene in this deep Spectra formula. This one shows using GCMS. As you know, you have been instructed, you have learned a lot about GCMS to determine the quality of the essential oil. Using GCMS, we can determine the quantity of diterpenes. Some of the diterpenes play major roles in our immune function and other functional activities. I'm not going to go in detail of each one of them, but using deep Spectra technology, diterpene quantity significantly enhanced 2, 3, or even 4-fold comparing to frankincense essential oil. Now, in order to determine the quality and quantity of boswellic acid, we need to introduce another analytical chemistry technology, which is not used in essential oil industry. We must introduce high-performance liquid chromatography to determine the quality and quantity of boswellic acid. Using the Spectra technology, we detect all boswellic acid species present in essential oil, present in resin, showing up in the Spectra frankincense square. That's powerful because no one in the industry can provide any significant amount of boswellic acid in frankincense essential oil. This is important. Very more importantly, after going back, I try to not to read it, but I sometimes have to read it. More important, because I go off the streak already. After the analyze the boswellic acid in frankincense resin and frankincense square, we confirm that the Spectra technology can take out all boswellic acid in frankincense resin. For example, if frankincense resin has 12% of the boswellic acid, we have almost 12% of the boswellic acid in our frankincense square. If resin, another species of resin, whatever, they have 15%, we probably will be able to get all 15% out. But that is still a process we are working on. And we will tell you in the future what the challenge we have. Now you ask what does it mean? We have more boswellic acid. What does it mean? Using our preliminary data, it's not final yet. Well, hopefully next year when you come back, I can provide you more scientifically proven data. Using in vitro antioxidant activity assays, we compare antioxidant activity between frankincense essential oil and frankincense square. You can see on the left is a low in antioxidant activity, on the right, purple. And then on the right, it shows the very high antioxidant activity. Using this methodology, raw data, you can see the raw data, it shows frankincense square is has more antioxidant activity compared to frankincense essential oil. After normalize, this surprised me. It came out, the result surprised me significantly. When we normalize the antioxidant activity of the frankincense essential oil, we saw frankincense square has almost 5-fold more potent in antioxidant activity compared to frankincense essential oil. That's amazing. Nobody else can tell you so. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever you want to say. We are now in the process to confirm this number can be repeated in the cultured human cells. If we can say more about this, whether this thing we saw here is true. If that's true, we probably will revolutionize what people thought about frankincense. I talk too much. That's bird turn.
Okay. No, you don't talk too much. I like just being HK's clicker. So this is kind of summarizing what he talked about, what makes frankincense squared so powerful. So the resins contain 50 or more different non-volatile water-insoluble compounds. That means compounds that don't come through in steam distillation. Many of them are lipophilic and hydrophobic compounds. They're soluble in essential oil. So what that means is the combination can take those lipophilic and hydrophilic compounds out. It can come out of the resin and into the essential oil. So we get this homogeneous lipid solution, right? Am I saying that right, HK? Thank you.
So the next generation of essential oil, like I always say.
Yes. So that solution combines the power of essential oils and the other lipid-soluble, large, biologically active compounds from the plant. So in theory, we're creating a novel type of extract that has really not been explored before. Yeah, and HK made this really cool graphic.
I made their job more difficult. I'm sorry.
No, I like clicking, so it's fun to do. Let's see, it's all in there. It's all in there, right? Oh yeah, so that's one of the cool things too about frankincense squared is that it really represents most, if not all, the chemical constituents in the resin. So you can consider it a more complete extract from the resin. And this goes back to the botanical synergy, the idea of synergy we were talking about earlier. The more compounds that you have in there, the more they work together. One of the theories is that those essential oil compounds could help facilitate the delivery of the other compounds and enhance their biological activity. Yeah. Do you want to say anything about cytokine secretion? Okay.
I think this one we are showing. I think we had a previous one. We missed that one. Did we miss that one?
No.
No? Okay.
We did it.
I thought I squeeze out, using my hand, squeeze out a lot of chemical compound.
No.
Okay. So in this frankincense square, we not only include essential oil components, right? We also include phosphoric acid and others, God knows what. I don't know. A lot of chemical compound present in frankincense resin not completely being identified. Not completed because it's complicated, truly complicated. And so we only can follow what is known, even though this new technology, we add more unknown to unknown.
Yeah.
That's true.
We like to make it hard for ourselves. So now we're talking a little bit about what the future of this looks like for product development. So you guys have probably seen, and if you come to the expo, you can get a sticker that's this new Deep Spectra icon, and it's the two leaves coming together that symbolize fusion. And we are always looking ahead. So let me give you some idea of what this can look like. Deep Spectra is not just new extracts like frankincense squared. Oh, yeah,
That's true.
kind of got messed up, didn't it?
Yeah, but it's fine.
It's fine, you guys.
You can
read
catch
it.
us later on,
Yeah.
whenever you want.
So this technology creates ingredients, and they're ingredients that can be used in just about any application that you can think of. So phytonutrition is a nutrition supplement that has Deep Spectra ingredients in it. There are personal care applications for skin care, hair care, and more. And no, I'm not saying that we're adding Deep Spectra to Bloom. It's just an example. But HK is making all kinds of formulas that are being tested with all kinds of applications. And just like we have blends of essential oils, what about blends of Deep Spectra ingredients? What about Deep Spectra in a synergistic alignment with CBD products? So we're really playing with all kinds of possibilities, and when we identify the best, most impactful formulas and applications, we will be rolling these out to you.
Okay, we received a lot of questions since we launched the concept product last year. Why can you provide us more? You already have a technology. Why can't we have them now? Or yesterday? So we talk about this briefly, what we are facing, the challenge.
We have more than 10 different theoretical formulations and prototypes being created for investigation. Now, like HK said, you might wonder, well, why don't we have those yet? One of the challenges that we have, and just know we're up to all of these challenges, but they do take time for us to figure out, is the sourcing of the plant material. We have our seed to seal quality commitment. Any plant material that we source that doesn't come from our own farms, we want to make sure that it is up to our standards. We are also looking at plants that are used in Ayurvedic medicine, plant species that are used in traditional Chinese medicine and other medicinal plants. And so there are species that we haven't even worked with when it comes to essential oils that we're looking into. So that's one of the challenges that we're dealing with.
Secondly, the technology using analytical chemistry. As what we described earlier, in essential oil world, we all use a GCMS. You heard about that, GCMS. As I mentioned earlier, now we have introduced high-performance liquid chromatography, which is more difficult than GCMS because each larger molecule has its own characteristics. So we need to qualitatively and quantitatively determine the presence of that compound based on their characteristic.
Like when we first started doing frankincense squared, they could test and first identify, well, we know that boswellic acids are in there. They had a test for that. And then they had to figure out, okay, what test do we run to now quantify how many boswellic acids are in there? How much of each boswellic acid is in there? And every constituent that we're trying to pull out of the plant, it's almost its own individual process to figure it out for that one compound.
Exactly. And then you think about, there are a lot of unknown beyond that. Third one, as I mentioned also, this in vitro data we presented to you, it surprised me, but does it really happen in cell cultures, in human cells? If it does happen, what the presentation of the cells receive components with higher antioxidant activity? That, as a biologist, I would like to see that happening, but we need to know what the presentation of a cell after receiving this compound. What gene got affected during this process?
So we have to know how we're doing this process. We have to know how to test for what we're pulling out during this process. And then we have to do testing to know what these ingredients will do for us, for our bodies. So that's a lot of work. It takes some time. Okay, the production process is another piece.
Yeah.
So like we said, last year, HK produced these in his lab.
Hand.
So when we go from the equipment HK has in his lab down to our manufacturing facility in Spanish Fork, and we scale up, all of that testing, we have to redo it again. Because when we do it on a larger scale, we want to make sure, okay, what he was doing in the lab, we're replicating those results when we're doing it on a larger scale. How do we filter it on a larger scale?
That's a very
what
difficult
equipment
part.
do we use? So we have process engineers. We have people on the manufacturing team that have been meeting with us weekly for
Yes.
a year since we did this last year to talk about how do we scale this up, to do pilot runs, to test, to make sure that they can recreate at a large scale what he did in his lab.
And every pilot run needs to be analytically tested.
Okay, also the marketing. And that is a decision too about what do these ingredients go into? What's going to have the most impact for the customers, for you? And then what story do we tell about it? How do we help people understand? Because as you've probably found, Deep Spectra is a little bit confusing to understand what it is at first. So we've had to figure out how do we best teach this and tell people what this is so that they can understand it and be excited about it. So those are just some of the challenges that we have, but we are working on all of those.
So finally, we quote what Gary told us all the time: nutrition, lifestyle. If we can do so, and Young Living provides the most optimal product, our body would take care of themselves. So future will be bright to Young Living and everybody here.
Aren't you glad we have HK at Young Living? Thank you.